Hello and welcome to the second look from the Anfield wrap after Liverpool 4, Burnley 2 at Anfield. Going over the game today, you've got Rob Gutmann, Phil Blundell and me, Dan Austin. And Rob, firstly, the thing that struck me the most is that was a mad game of football, and I don't expect Liverpool at home to Burnley to be such a mad game of football.
No, but when you saw that wind beforehand, and we're allowed to say it, Jurgen may be not allowed to say it without inducing panic, that was mental. As Phil was pointing out to me beforehand, it changed direction several times in the course of the game. There's one moment I noticed 20 minutes into the game where we're on the attack and literally hail comes out of the sky as if sent by God and blows us backwards, with Burnley defenders going, that's fine, the wind is better than Virgil van Dijk as a defender. So it did make it, and it literally gives them a goal as well as their fouling in the first seconds. It blows the ball in the net for them. So it was a mad game of football. I think it's slightly less mad than the Palace game a month or so ago, because Liverpool do really gain control of it. So maybe not as mad as it seemed with a minute to go and it was back to 3-2 back to a one-goal deficit temporarily. But yeah, it was a bit mad.
Phil, I think there's an argument that this actually ends up being one of Liverpool's most impressive performances of the season. Considering the circumstances, considering the fact that they go behind, considering the fact that I thought first half the referee's performance was bizarre, to put it in the most complimentary way possible. Shite might be a more apt way of putting it. It felt like they were fighting against a lot of things from the get-go, and I think it was great credit to them that when they go 1-0 down and it's a goal that shouldn't really be a goal, you can very easily feel aggrieved and feel sorry for yourself. Well, yeah, but it's something where you can just feel sorry for yourself, feel aggrieved, but they instantly got back to it. So we scored those 2 goals fairly quickly after that. But they had chances before that, and it felt like the whole place, the whole ground, kept the self-belief, kept the patience, and I was really, really impressed by the way they handled it from a psychological perspective.
It reminded me a bit of Leicester last season. I don't know if you remember that, when Vardy scores after about 3 minutes, and it was arguably our best home performance of the season. Now, I don't think yesterday was better than Watford the other week, for example, but there was a real sort of intensity about what we did. There was a belief behind everything we did. And it was impressive, because there's a lot of talk at the minute about, Liverpool feeling the pressure, this, that and the other. And it would have been very easy, if that is a thing, for yesterday to have developed into that and get frustrated. No one got frustrated, the crowd, the players, the manager, no one got frustrated. Everyone worked together. The crowd got behind the players. And the players did exactly what they needed to do. I thought it was a good performance without being something that you would hang your hat on and go, that was what we want from this team.
I think Liverpool were better, given all considerations against Burnley, than City had been 24 hours earlier against Watford, and that was a much changed Watford team who left their 2 best forwards on the bench as well. I was as a sort of half time, I sort of overheard someone. I was at the game, but there was a TV monitor in the thingy corridors, and I think it was Steve McMahon or somebody on the commentary going, it's an important game to be in front in this, because the weather's only going to make it, I'm sorry to harp back on it, worse and worse and worse. It was a really difficult game. But after Liverpool go 3-1 up, I watched it back again this morning, we forget Mane hits the bar with an open goal in front of him. Liverpool could quite easily run it. We could have been talking about 5 or 6-1 there. You're right, it's a more impressive performance than I think it felt the minute you walked out of the ground.
It's certainly a game which is not as close as what the final scoreline suggests, or what 3-2 and not quite panic stations, but everyone in the ground being a bit nervy suggests towards the end. I think that coming off the back of the Everton game, it was crucial that not only did Liverpool get the 3 points, especially after Manchester City win again on the weekend, Rob, but that they had a bit of attack and fervour back. Akin to the Watford game, akin to the Bournemouth game, and it seems to be like they're more capable of doing it at home at the minute. Whether that just be because the away games have been harder games or whatever, but certainly the high press was back, the intensity going forward was back, because Burnley are in theory capable of frustrating, but I just don't think they were allowed to. I think Liverpool was so in the faces going forward that Burnley just couldn't really settle even.
Yeah, I mean, it's in some senses it should be harder at home, because, as you say, everyone low blocks us and just sets out to frustrate. But we were determined to find a way there. I think it was all about concentration. I think almost the adversity of everything, going behind, facing the conditions. I think it sort of sharpened the minds. I think if Burnley hadn't scored early and they'd had a reasonably good first 10 and kept us out, we could have got more frustrated. In some senses, I think the early goal helps focus the mind. And the fact, you sat there thinking, Jesus, this is actually going to be one of our toughest tests of the season after a few minutes, didn't you? I thought, this 3 points ain't coming easy. Having said that, I saw them calm down. I thought, we can do this, we'll pull it back. We systematically dismantled them. That's what we did, and that's what we do well.
There's a psychological thing of going 1-0 down, I think, and that it really does focus the mind, especially early on.
Yeah.
You draw 0-0. You draw 0-0 after 10, and it's sort of a bit more laid back, and it's a bit, oh well, you know, the goal will come, this, that, and the other. But it's the knowing that you need 2 goals as opposed to 1.
Yes.
It sort of really, it is a completely different mindset, and it almost looked like that happened. The goal went in, and there was obviously Alisson complained at the referee, but there was no sort of feeling sorry for ourselves or anything like that.
No.
They just got on with things and went, right, we know what we need to do. We probably need to win 8 games of football the rest of the season, and we went out there, 9 games of football, whatever it was at that stage. They went out there and went, right, we're going to win this game of football.
Yeah, and the warning signs were there for Burnley when Firmino was put in, wasn't he? He dallies a little long on it.
The one that just went over the bar.
Yeah, he gets his shot away in the end, it clips someone's foot and it just sails over the bar. But we were making space against them then. I thought that was the important thing. I mean, the way Salah finds his way through them on the 1-2 with Wijnaldum, isn't it, to make the first goal. That's amazing, that. I mean, people might take that lightly, but when you're playing against a low block, the only way you get through it is to be cute with 1-2s. But it's much easier.
It's a fantastic ball from Salah as well, just to basically, he's put it in the only spot where not that he can just get it to Wijnaldum. I mean, the ball to Wijnaldum.
Yeah, it's such a thread, isn't it?
He's threaded it, and it's gone to the part of Wijnaldum's body where he can actually give him it.
Yeah.
He can do something with it, as opposed to because it's that difficult to get it through that gap that it could quite easily been someone that Wijnaldum couldn't have done something with straight away.
Yeah.
But they've managed to do a quick 1-2. You get them turned around, you get him behind, and you get the goal.
Yeah, it's great.
We'll talk, Rob, quickly then about Mohamed Salah, because I thought he was brilliant. He doesn't get his goal, so that record is now there that he hasn't scored in 5, and that's as long as period without scoring a goal for Liverpool. But as long as he plays like he did yesterday, or he plays like he did against Watford, where he's setting things up, he's dragging defenders away, he's making space for Firmino, he's making space for Mane, he's making space for Wijnaldum as the runner from midfield. That's absolutely fine, isn't it? We don't need him to score 35 goals in a league season or whatever. As long as he's working for the team and the team is doing well, you can't really ask any more from the man.
No, I thought he was fantastic. I actually think he does okay. He does not okay. I think he's really good in the derby as well. If you watch it back, we're frustrated in the derby, but all the good things are because of his application. Yes, you could argue he finished better on a couple of things in those games, but he's the one getting in. He's the threat to Everton. He's the one jinking between a couple of players and bending shots in. I think he's been in really good form despite not scoring. I felt at the beginning of this season that he's not going to have another 45-goal season. I even thought he's not going to have another 30-goal season. I said if he gets 25 or anything above 20, brilliant. That shows that he's now a consistent goal scorer. And he's got 20 now. Hopefully he does reach about 25 at least. But whatever happens, he's still making. He sort of half or fully assists about 3 of the goals yesterday, doesn't he? I mean, Klopp gave him his man of the match, didn't he, more or less, I think, in his aftermatch, where he said he was absolutely fantastic, and I don't think he was over-egging it.
Phil, on the other two, they both get themselves a brace, and first and foremost, Firmino's coming back in from injury, and I thought both me and Tarkowski just really struggled with him all afternoon, where his movement was, in kind of playing a bit further forward, I think, than what was usually expected. Certainly when he came on in the derby, he was practically playing centre mid, trying to come deep and get the ball, but quite a bit yesterday. Rob talked about him getting slipped in before we actually scored the equaliser. He was on the shoulder of the last defender, and I think that gave us a bit of extra impetus because it means that you were stretching them more. They want to play a back four that's really, really compact, basically 4 of them as centre halves, and his movement and the fact that he was playing so high up meant that they were just never able to stick to that game plan.
Yeah, I think that's partially linked to the position that Lallana was yesterday, to be honest, because one of the things we've struggled with recently, I think, is a link between the midfield and the attack, because a lot of the time you've had 4 of Henderson, Wijnaldum, Milner, Fabinho as the midfield. Now, they're all perfectly good footballers, but if you play 3 of them, there is a sort of level of conservatism that means that they're not as high as Lallana was yesterday, and it means then that Firmino's got to drop, Salah's got to tuck in, Mane's got to tuck in as well, whatever, and it enabled us to enable Firmino to do that, I think, and it was, they almost weren't expecting it. Like I think they might have been expecting Jack Cork to pick up Firmino a lot, and he didn't have to do that, and it meant that Tarkowski and me were doing things that they probably didn't think they were going to do. They weren't really prepared for, and they weren't. Firmino was popping up in areas where you probably wouldn't have thought he was going to.
I agree. I think the truth of the matter is, in recent weeks, if you look where we've been blunt, controlled games but been blunt, which would say United away, Everton away. We've played those three true centre mids, haven't we, in the middle? We've not had, but whether you play Lallana or a Shaqiri, maybe even a Keita, it gives you a fourth attacker. You're right, it is the link, but it also basically means in crude money you're playing a 4-2-4. And it's why you see a very mediocre side like Burnley actually get up the pitch and threaten occasionally. That's the risk you take, but it's worth it if you can open them up time and time again.
Right, that's it for part one. We'll be back in a second talking about the likes of Adam Lallana in more detail, Virgil van Dijk and Sadio Mane. But for now, here's Neil Atkinson with his tactics board looking at how both teams set up.
Liverpool beat Burnley 4-2 in a torrent, a storm, possibly even a tornado at Anfield, certainly in that first half with the weather absolutely bustling about, and it might or might not have had a real impact on the game. I think it possibly helped in that Liverpool were playing Burnley, who were going to be Burnley no matter what. The Clarets played really quite well on the day. There was that lovely patch of possession they had when 2-1 down, moving the ball across the pitch. They kept their heads. And what's interesting is they went with 4-4-2 and they remained pretty compact. The average position of Westwood and Cork is relatively high up the pitch. They made Liverpool do a lot of work right the way back here, more so than normally happens in home games. You got to see Liverpool have to defend in areas around here. Robertson, Van Dijk, Matip, they're all being pushed back. What was also interesting, firstly, Dwight McNeil left quite alone by Burnley, full back coming on the overlap as and when they could. But they also looked to sort of target Van Dijk and Robertson. They're the first side to do a bit of that, really. I mean, not many sides come to Anfield and play 4-4-2. They didn't get much change out of Van Dijk, but what I think it did do was it helped them focus around this little area of the pitch and look to get numbers coming in and joining to see if they could do the bits. They didn't really attack Liverpool very much, but they did force them back. They didn't make them do things in areas that Liverpool might not want to do things in. And arguably, since Crystal Palace came to Anfield, they've actually had more activity in this third than anyone else has managed. Liverpool, on the other hand, though, Mane absolutely terrific throughout the course of the game, gets on the ball on 50 occasions, mostly in this little pocket of space here. Lallana through there. If you also look at Liverpool's shape, it's a little 50-50, to be honest with you, if I pull everybody back up, where there's not many Liverpool players through the middle of the pitch. Liverpool are either doing stuff on this side with Salah, with Wijnaldum, with Trent, Matip coming and joining, Fabinho maybe doing a little bit of this, or they're on this side of the pitch, which is also borne out by the average positions. There's not a great deal that actually happens directly through the middle of the pitch until you get into the penalty areas. It was a good game. Burnley deserve enormous credit for the approach, for the way in which they went about the business, for how compact they are, for how they impose themselves upon you to some extent. They do so better than a lot of other sides who come to Anfield sides with better, more notable players. But Liverpool won the game by 4-2, and they deserved to.
Thanks very much to Neil for that. And Rob, we've got to talk about Sadio Mane. He gets another 2. He's got 6 in 6 at Anfield now, and I think there's a strong argument that he's been Liverpool's best player since the turn of the year. Yes,
as he was last year about this time, wasn't he? Suddenly started picking up his game. He scores it against Burnley, funnily enough, in that Boxing Day thriller last season, and then continued scoring ad infinitum, hat-tricks here, there and everywhere. I think Sadio Mane has had a fantastic season for Liverpool. He's now only 3 off Salah. I think it's 1 league goal behind Salah. I mean, although Salah and Firmino are scoring less this season, Sadio isn't. He's only 3 off his total for the entirety of last season in all comps. He might even be already have hit his league goals total. Funnily enough, I thought he was having a strange first 15, 20 minutes where he wasn't as involved as he usually is until he pops up, opens his body up and just bends one in. It's not until you see that again you realise that's not a routine finish, that first goal. It's a beautiful finish. He could have he misses an open goal though. He's on the stretch in the second half.
Should have left that one really, shouldn't he? There should be,
the
communication there should have been better because Robertson taps that in if he...
But I loved his second, not only because it made the scoreline respectable at the end, but because it was almost like that first month of Mane, I remember so fondly when he first signed and we realised what a player we had, when his pace was just so ridiculous. I mean, he sort of doesn't have a right to get to that ball that Sturridge puts over the top.
I wasn't expecting to get it.
No.
And then he had the ball.
And not just had it, but he had it nicely to one side and slotted it. I thought the wind was going to blow it out.
Yeah.
It was that kind of
just
day.
Do something with it, just put it out for a throw-in or something.
But no, he got better and better as the game went on. He's been brilliant.
Phil, we briefly mentioned Adam Lallana before being the leader of the high press and stuff, and I think when people saw his name on the team sheet a lot, probably a significant majority of Liverpool supporters will have been quite concerned. There was a very negative reaction to his appearance in the derby and stuff. But despite, I think, the justifiable concerns before kick-off, I think he played really, really well. He was an outlet, he was carrying the ball forward, he defended from such a high footing as well, that he was the major reason, I think, why Burnley were never allowed to settle, and it's no coincidence that we get that first goal from him making the block.
Well, the Firmino first goal, he also played the ball 25, 30 yards out wide and switched the play, and then Salah and Mane and Van Dijk getting behind the Firmino scores, then there's the block for the second one. What I thought was really interesting was the line Klopp made about being exceptional in training. Now, that obviously means he's working very, very hard in training, because a lot of his game is about work rate. It's nice to see that kind of thing's rewarded, but I do wonder if there's a sort of underlying message to a couple of other players, maybe Keita and Shaqiri, that they're not doing what they should be on the training ground.
Or at least if they are doing it, he's doing it better.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's not, sorry, yeah, that's fair. That's more fair that they, doesn't mean that they're not doing it, but you do wonder if he's used it as a real rocket.
I also wonder, I mean, Lallana gets picked against Burnley, the away game last season, in fact, and this is the away game this season. I wonder if he also thinks the game's going to be very British, and although Lallana's not an archetypal, very British player, Klopp might have sort of estimated this is more a game for a lad who's been there, done that, knows just how gnarly a team like Burnley can be, what sort of gamesmanship they'll get involved with, a bit cuter and more experienced. I think that could have been a factor for him.
It's also a little bit of an overreaction to one player, I think, because when you look at the other 10, I don't think anybody had any issues with the other 10. There's probably a Henderson Van Wijnaldum argument maybe, but the other 10 is basically what everybody else would have picked, with the exception of other midfielder. So one player is not really going to make that much difference. Obviously, they're going to make a difference, but it's not going to impact it negatively hugely. It's not going to be that much more positive. It's obviously a different player, but I think people just get a little bit too stressed about the odd name here and there when one player out of 11 doesn't really matter that much.
The in-training thing is a key thing. I was with him last. He goes, what is the possible justification for picking Lallana? And I just said, maybe he's been great in training. And that's exactly what the manager says afterwards. You know, we can't see that.
I think we often forget that we would look at it as though when we're picking a lineup, we're essentially picking robots.
Yeah,
because we don't know them as people. We don't know how they've trained in the week. We don't know what's going on with their personal lives or whatever. So someone could have something going on at home that means they're not training so well, not playing so well. And someone can just have a really great 2 weeks where physically, mentally, they're absolutely on it. And maybe he spots something like that and goes, you know what, I'm going to use him, because if I'm not going to use him now, what's the point of him being here? If he looks like he's in peak condition here and he's a talented footballer and I like him, why am I not picking him?
Klopp said afterwards he brought what he was doing in training into the game, and that's a key message. I think he's saying those that will give 100% in training have got a better chance of delivering on the weekend. And I think that's the message he's sending as much to the rest of the squad. He goes, don't think you can hold your bodies back for the big event. You have to be on it all the time at this stage.
Phil, we have to focus briefly on Virgil van Dijk because he was just totally imperious again. He does everything with such ease, and this is a real challenge, this game, because he's playing against a set of forwards, and first of all, it's rare that you're playing against two strikers in this
especially
day and
two
age.
strikers like that.
But exactly, when has he even played against one forward like that in the past, in his Liverpool career, in his Premier League career, never mind two of them at the same time? And the one thing that really stood out to me in the game was on about 50-55 second half, Burnley lump a ball forward, and we've been pushing quite high up the pitch, and as they go forward, it's Van Dijk, he's got Barnes running with him and Woods on the other side, so he's basically defending 1 against 2. And the way he solves it is by going up for the header with Barnes. He wins the header. Yeah. He heads it 10 yards to his own left-hand side and then goes and picks it up. He's passed to himself with the defensive header. It was incredible, and he set us back on the attack again. And I think he might be one of, if not the most perfect defenders I've ever seen for any team.
He's got everything. He literally does have everything. There's quite often you see a defender and they'll miss. Like Sami Hyypiä, for example, wasn't quick. Stefan Oncho wasn't big, for example, just to name those two. But then he's got everything you can take from any defender you want and think is brilliant, and he has all of it. He's massive, he's quick, he's brilliant on the ball, he reads the game fantastically. He has absolutely everything. It is ridiculous.
Rob, there's a fairly strong chance that he ends up as the PFA Player of the Year, first defender to do so, if it happens, since 2005. I think John Terry won it.
John Terry, yeah.
Have you ever seen a better defender for anyone?
No. I've been asked this a few times in the last week, I can't remember why, but no. And I thought in my life I'd never see anything better than Hansen and Lawrenson for Liverpool in the bloody world. They were incredible, and Liverpool, they were the foundation of Liverpool's success in the 1980s. I thought they had it all in a certain sense. They didn't have as much as Van Dijk has. They weren't as good in the air. I can't do them down in any sense whatsoever, but he's better than them. I'd rather have him than both of them.
I was very concerned at that moment in the first half when I thought he was injured.
Oh, you could hear a pin drop silence. Honestly, as soon as he holds his leg.
I reckon for 90 seconds I just watched him. I literally just stared at him for 90 minutes. And I was like,
the whole ground.
You could score. Sort yourself out. Be all right. Get up. No, don't hold your arm. Don't hold your ankle, rather. Just get on with it.
I want to buy Koulibaly because he's the nearest. You know why? Because I can't live my life just praying.
Just with one.
Imagine what Southampton fans felt when not just he left them, but the year before he leaves them, he's injured for 9 months, and they became a entirely different football team. They went from being this potential top 7, 8 side to being relegation fodder. Virgil van Dijk, 15 places difference. That's what he does.
That's about all that we've got time for on this edition of The Second Look. Liverpool now 1 point behind Manchester City in the title race, 8 games to go. Absolutely every one of them is enormous. Fulham away at Craven Cottage next Sunday is the biggest game of all of our lives at this stage, and it comes off the back of the small matter of a round of 16 second leg in the Allianz Arena against Bayern Munich. What a week it's going to be. A few of us are heading off to Munich this afternoon, so if you don't already, make sure to go to theanfieldrap.com/subscribe. We're going to have, I think it's something ridiculous, like 9 or 10 podcasts from Munich. There's going to be loads of video on the YouTube channel as well, so make sure to get onto all of it. It's going to be really good. We're going to have a great time. Hopefully Liverpool do the business, and then we can concentrate back on a league title challenge as well.
Yeah.
For now, enjoy the rest of your day. All the best.